Okay, before we start Japan turn 1, just a couple of minor corrections to the movements for Russia. Some of these were my mistakes, and some of these were just reconsiderations that Mr. had. So the tank and the mechanized infantry that started in Stalingrad, I had them in Belarus. He wants them in western Ukraine. They can rail there, 1, 2, 3, because there is a factory there. Also, the 2 infantry from Caucasus, which he had going to Rostov, he wants in Stalingrad instead. And lastly, in Amur, he meant to leave 1 infantry there. So instead of having 18 infantry in Buryatia, there's 17 infantry in Buryatia and 1 infantry in Amur. So that should be all the corrections for the Russia moves. So those should be good now. So in western Ukraine, that was the biggest change, I think. There is now 5 infantry, 1 mech, 1 artillery, and 1 tank. Okay. All right. So Japan turn 1 coming up. Okay, welcome to Japan turn 1. They have $26 to spend. They're going to spend $4 on advancing their technology. They're going to spend $12 on a minor factory. They're going to spend $7 on a transport, and they're going to save $3 for the next turn. They will be declaring 4 battles, all in China. So I think I have all of China here. Okay, 2 of them are walk-ins. From into Shahar, the 2 infantry and artillery from Jahol and the mechanized infantry from Manchuria are going to be attacking Shahar. In Anhui, the 3 infantry and artillery from Shantung and the 3 infantry and artillery from Kiangsu will congregate there. In terms of actual battles that have to be rolled, there are 2, 1 in Hunan and 1 in Yunan. For the Yunan attack, ground forces, 3 infantry and an artillery from Guangxi are coming in. A fighter and a tactical bomber from Kiangsu are going to come into Yunan. And from Japan, we're going to have 1 bomber acting as a bomber and 1 bomber acting as an air transport, bringing 2 paradrop units, 2 paratroopers. From Japan, and they will have enough movement to land in Guangxi. The Hunan attack is going to be 3 infantry and 1 artillery from Kiangxi, the fighter from Formosa, and then the 2 fighters and 2 tactical bombers from Manchuria. So that's all the attacks, and I'll set up the battle board and start rolling the 2 attacks that need to be rolled. Right, in the battle for Hunan, there are 3 Japanese infantry, 1 of which is supported by an artillery, 3 fighters and 2 tactical bombers versus 2 Chinese infantry. So 2 1s, 2 2s, 3 3s, and 2 4s versus 2 2s. These are 2 hits. And I got exactly 2 hits. So touch and go, but ended on the first round. China defends and gets 1 hit. So Japan loses 1 infantry and takes the territory. Okay, in the battle for Yunan, the Japanese are coming in with 3 infantry ground forces, 1 of which is supported by an artillery, and 2 infantry via paradrop. They're also having some Air Force support with a fighter, a tactical bomber, and a strategic bomber. So we have 4 1s for the unsupported infantry, a 2 for the supported infantry, a 2 for the artillery, a 3 for the fighter, 2 2s for the strategic bomber. We're using the 3.0 rule set of BBR, so that's 2 2s for the strat bomber, and then a 4 for the tactical bomber with combined arms. So we're looking for 4 hits here. And we got 3 hits. 1, 2, 3. So 3 of these infantry are dead, but they do, of course, get to roll their response. So 4 2s. 1 hit. So 1 of the paratroopers is killed. So now we lose 1 of these. We lose 2 of these for the strategic bomber, which has to fly away. So we have 3 1s, 2 2s, a 3 and a 4. We're looking for 1 hit. And we got 3 hits. So the remaining Chinese infantry is killed. And it does get a defense. And it missed. So that went about as well as I could hope. The Chinese only managed to inflict 1 casualty on the Japanese, and the Japanese leave a fairly substantial set of ground forces in Yunan. Okay, for non-combat, we'll start with the planes. All of the planes involved in the Yunan and Hunan attacks will be landing in Guangxi. Okay. Up here in Manchuria, 3 of the 6 infantry in Manchuria will be moving into Jehol. Sorry, is it 6? Hang on one sec, I just have to check something real quick. Yeah, no, that's right. Okay, the 1 artillery from Manchuria will be loaded onto the transport. The infantry from Okinawa will be loaded onto the transport, and the battleship will make their way down to C-Zone 36. The cruiser in C-Zone 20 will go to C-Zone 36. The transport in C-Zone 20 will go back up to C-Zone 6. In C-Zone 6, an infantry and a tank will load onto a transport, and that transport, along with all of the Navy in C-Zone 6 except for 1 destroyer, so that's 2 fully loaded carriers, a destroyer, a sub, a cruiser, and a battleship will make their way down to C-Zone 36. The naval forces in C-Zone 33, the carrier and the destroyer will also make their way to C-Zone 36. What else? The 2 fighters and 2 tactical bombers on Japan will join the rest of the Air Force in Guangxi. The fighter on Okinawa will also go to Guangxi. The fighter on Korea will go to Kiangsu. Lastly, the destroyer and the sub in C-Zone 19 will move to C-Zone 6. So I think that is all the movements that I have. So once I tidy up the board, I'll come back with placements and money. All right, placements for Japan. Their new factory is going to go into Kiangsu. Their new transport is going to go into C-Zone 6. And in terms of income, they will be going up $1 for Yunan, $1 for Hunan, $1 for Anhui, $1 for Shahar, all at the expense of the Chinese. So if we adjust the income tracker here, we will see that Japan was at 26. They've added 4, so they're up to 30. China was at 12. They're now at 8. And so in terms of base income, Japan is going to collect the $30 base income. They're going to get a 10 IPC bonus for not being at war with the United States. And they're going to get a 3 IPC carryover from not spending the money from the last turn. So they will put $43 in their treasury. And I'm just going to take those 2 10s and make it a 20. So $43 in their treasury for the next turn. Okay, in terms of disposition of forces, we'll start up here in the north. In Japan proper, there are 3 infantry, 2 artillery, and 3 anti-aircraft artillery. In C-Zone 6, there are 2 transports, 2 destroyers, and a submarine. In Korea, there are 4 infantry. In Manchuria, there are 3 infantry and an anti-aircraft artillery. In Johor, there are 3 infantry. In Shahar, there are 2 infantry, 1 artillery, and 1 mechanized infantry. In Anhui, there are 6 infantry and 2 artillery. In Kiangsu, there is a fighter and a newly built factory. In Hunan, there is an infantry and an artillery. In Yunan, there are 4 infantry and 1 artillery. And in Guangxi, there is a fairly substantial set of forces there. There are 2 infantry, 1 tank, 1 artillery, 1 air transport, 1 strategic bomber, and then we have, let me just count these, make sure I've got them all, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tactical bombers, and I believe it's either 6 or 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fighters. Okay. Oops. Down in Siam, there are 2 infantry. And in C-Zone, I think that's 36. We have 3 fully loaded carriers, each with a fighter and a tactical bomber. We have a submarine, 2 destroyers, 2 cruisers, and 2 battleships. And the only other Japanese forces on the board are on islands. On Iwo Jima, there's an infantry. On Palau, there's an infantry. And in the Carolines, there are 2 infantry and 1 anti-aircraft artillery. So that should be the disposition of forces for the Japanese for this turn. And the United States and China are going to be up next.